Hello there, my name is Luciano Oliveira, I am a Brazilian attorney, and today I'm going to be answering this question. I am overstaying my time in Brazil for a couple of months. Am I going to be deported or not? And the answer is most probably not. We have here a warning in terms of immigration. Countries have discretion in deciding the outcome of a specific event. So we're gonna be sharing our experience with this topic, but we are not guaranteeing that this is gonna be your case as well. If you have specific questions, our recommendation is that you schedule a consultation, because if we have the full picture, we're gonna be in a much better position to advise you in terms of how to fix your immigration situation in Brazil. So going back to the example of 2 months, most probably you're not gonna have much trouble. The Brazilian immigration is much more lenient than an immigration from the United States, for instance, and 2 months is not a lot, again, from an average interpretation by the Brazilian immigration. You are, however, required to pay a fine. There is a statutory fine of 100 reais per day that you are overstaying in the country, and this fine is going to accrue until 10,000 reais in total. This is how the Brazilian immigration is going to fine you for overstaying if they go by the books, but in our experience, most of the time when you get to the Polícia Federal, to the federal police, to kind of take care of your overstaying, they are gonna get you a form for you to declare how much income you have, and depending on how much income you are informing to the Brazilian authority, they may substantially reduce the fine. Now, you don't wanna lie in this form, right? You don't wanna say that you're making, like $500 a month if you're making $5,000 a month. So if you're making some good money and you get to that point, we would recommend you to just pay the entire fine, and then you would basically get back on legal status with the Brazilian immigration. Now, this is not going to give you a whole new year to stay in Brazil or an additional 90 days, which is currently customary for the Brazilian immigration to give visitors. They give 90 days. It may be renewed or not for an additional 90. But if you are overstaying and if you go to the Polícia Federal and you pay your fine, usually they are gonna give you 60 days. You get 60 days to do something. You're gonna need to either leave the country or you're gonna need to find a legal basis to remain in the country. So, real example, another client, he was in the country for a whole year, overstaying for a whole year. And the first thing he did was to apply for the digital nomad visa. And once the application was in, he went to the federal police and said, listen, I'm trying to, get my situation back on track, and I have this application for the digital nomad visa, and because I want to make sure that I'm going to be approved for the visa, I want to take care of my overstay. And they did some calculations. He did complete the form. He did pay the amount that was informed as the fine, and he was later on approved for the digital nomad visa, and now he's completely legal in the country. In addition to being legally in the country, now he has the Brazilian ID for foreign citizens known as R&M. And here is an example of the R&M. And the R&M is extremely important because then you can open a bank account, you can, buy flying tickets, you can use most of the services that are available to Brazilians. But without the R&M, it doesn't matter if you have the Brazilian tax ID, because these are two separate things, right? One is the Brazilian tax ID and the other is ID for foreign citizens, not a tax ID. It's an actual ID with your picture on it. And this document is of course much more powerful than just the tax ID. And combined, these two things give you access to pretty much anything you want to do in Brazil other than voting for president, right? Of course, there are some other exceptions, but I just want to emphasize how powerful powerful the Brazilian ID known as R&M is, and that even if you are overstaying your time in the country, there is still a path for you to move back to a legal status and hopefully, keep your journey on the right track from now on. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to download our free ebook, The 7 Most Common Mistakes Made by Foreign Citizens When Applying for the Digital Nomad Visa in Brazil, and follow us for more tips.